Hello there you guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought that I would share with you a little recipe or big recipe that I came up with this past week. After the last spell I shared here, where I worked to build a little spell bag for my workspace to enhance magic and a handful of other things, I've been unable to kick ginger out of my mind and its magic enhancing properties. As ginger is commonly eaten before spells to help enhance the spell and give power to the practitioner, not to mention it also does tend to ensure the spell's success. And because I've been on a bit of a bread kick lately, I thought why not add it to one of my favorite recipes and give it a go. Thus, my Candied Ginger Honey Brioche was born. And I've been really happy with it. As always, it is a baked good. It takes a bit of time to craft, and it's definitely something that is very involved, but I think that involved recipes are, well, at least tend to be the most successful for me, as it gives you quite a bit of time to infuse your own personal magic into them. But with all that said, let's jump into what you'll need for this recipe. First, to make the candied ginger, you'll need a couple of good chunks of fresh ginger, peeled and diced, 2 cups of sugar, plus half for coating, and roughly 4 cups of water, which will be separated into 2 and 2. For the honey brioche, I followed a recipe by Half Baked Harvest, which I will link down below. It is one of my favorite bread recipes to follow, so I will list the recipe ingredients here, but I'm going to explain how it's made rather loosely throughout the rest of the video, just so that if you wish to create it, we'll go over and give her the credit. But anyways, for this recipe, you'll need 2/3 cups of warm milk, 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, 1/4 cup of honey, 5 eggs, there will be 4 in the dough, 1 is beaten for brushing, 3 1/2 to 4 cups of bread flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 4 tablespoons of butter at room temperature, and 1 1/2 sticks of cold butter sliced into thin pieces. And like I said, I'm going to explain the recipe and how it's done, but for those of you that really wish to follow it perfectly, I will link the recipe down below and I'll tell you where I add in my little tweaks as I go along here. So then, let's begin, shall we? Begin any way that you would normally begin a spell, perhaps by cleansing a space or grounding yourself. I started first the night before by candying the ginger. First, start by peeling and dicing the ginger. Then place them in a small saucepan and cover with water. This will be your first 2 cups of water, though you don't really have to be all that precise right here. Simmer for a good 20 minutes and then drain the water. Back in the saucepan, add back in your ginger, 2 cups of water, and 2 cups of sugar. Bring the mixture up to a boil, then reduce to a simmer and allow it to cook for 45 minutes. Give it a few stirs every once in a while here and work your intention into it now. As always, it's important to work intention throughout if you can, but I find stirring in intention works really well for me, especially with kitchen witchery. If you're curious about how to work intention into things, I did talk on this quite a bit in my last video, and I will link that up above and down below. Once these 45 minutes are up, drain the ginger from the liquid, this time reserving this liquid as it's now ginger syrup and it's delicious. Besides, it's really good anywhere. You can add it on pancakes or in cookies or just in another drink to sweeten it, perhaps some tea. Though it would also be good to add into spell work anywhere you need a little bit of sweetness and enhanced success. Then simply spread out the ginger on a plate and leave it overnight. The next day, roll the ginger in that 1/2 cup of sugar. This helps to prevent sticking, and it kind of just adds another bit of sweetness to it, which is quite lovely because it can be very powerful. I kind of found the best way to do this was to just throw in a handful at a time and just give it a little quick shake and sift through with my fingers. Then once this is done, enjoy a few pieces of ginger and move on to making the bread. As I said before, I'm going to loosely go through this. I know when I share my own recipes, I do give a step-by-step direction on how to do them, but this isn't my recipe, and I would like you to, if you're going to try this out, go check out Half Baked Harvest's recipe and follow what she has written there, as it's, well, hers. But to make this, I began first by combining all but the butter, allowing the yeast to set with the warmed milk first. Then I added the first bit of butter and mixed until it was combined. Then I let it sit until doubled in size. After this time passed, I punched down the dough and rolled it out into a big rectangle. Adding in the slices of butter and the candied ginger here. All before folding and rolling and folding it once again. Then allowing it to set in the freezer for a bit more time. Once the time was up, I rolled it out again and then rolled it into a giant log of sorts and cut it in half. Set it back into the pans, or, well, for the first time into the pans, and allowed it to rest and rise once again. Once it rose all the way, I brushed it with an egg wash and popped it in the oven at 350 for 30 to 35 minutes. And then enjoy. This recipe I made a little bit differently. I made it dairy-free because I have some people in my life that are dairy-free, so it came out a little differently than it normally does for me, but it was still really good and really amazing, and I hope you guys enjoy. It's a pretty involved recipe, like I said, but it's not too hard to execute. Just takes some time. But with that said, I hope you guys enjoy and give it a try. Let me know how it goes for you. I'm exceptionally happy with it, and it's definitely a recipe I will be making more often now. I think I'm going to continue experimenting with ginger in the time to come, as it's a pretty useful ingredient and one that I deeply enjoy. So keep your eyes peeled for more recipes with ginger, and if you want to help support this channel, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my Patreon. I know it's not for everyone, but for those of you that can, I share a bit of my art and some other extra fun things. And if you want to follow more of my life here, I have a second channel, which I will link down below, and there I just share more of me and my adventures and life. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I hope to see you soon.